And welcome everybody and hello to Swinging from the Hips. We're up to episode 11. And this week we'll actually be looking at the first test between England and West Indies that starts on 8th of July. Before we dig into that, let's get our regulars on the show and welcome to Rohit and Taryn. Welcome guys, how you doing?
How's it, lads?
G'day, good to be here.
That's
But
good.
chilly out there, isn't
Chilly out there, absolutely. Yeah. It's got the heat pumps going around, haven't we? Now that we've got all heat pumps installed, so absolutely.
Yes.
So we can get into looking at that first test. Let's get into this week in history with Roy.
Good evening. So just a few birthdays to cover off here. So with the English theme coming through, we got Kevin Peterson having a birthday, born in 1980, and Dale Steyn, who was born in 83, June 27, both of them. Now, Dale became the joint fastest bowler with Sir Richard Hadley to score 400 to get 400 Test wickets. Me already. June 28th, 1970, Pakistan.
Oh.
28th, 1970, Mushtaq Ahmed and 85 Riaz had their birthdays. Hello?
Yep, you're back.
Yeah.
So, moving on, we've got I'm back. Hello. So, back in 69, June 30th, Sri Lankan legend, son of Jaya Surya, first player, had his birthday, but he's the first player to score 400 runs, to play 400 ODIs, should I say. And he was third spinner to reach 300 wickets in ODIs. He quit playing at the ripe old age of 38 years old, that's Test cricket, and then stopped playing internationals at 42. Must have been some fit guy. Now, he's sitting in fourth place on the all-time run makers table in ODIs with well over 13,000 runs. It's a great effort from the Sri Lankan. West Indian Kemar Roach, born June 30th also, 1988. Now, he made his debut in 2009 as part of a secondary West Indies team as the main players went on strike then. So he sort of got a chance to make his name for himself in that when he made his debut. Talking about debuts, we've got our very own Scotty Styris, who made his debut in 2002 against the West Indies. And now on his debut, he got the 107 on his first dig, batting at number 8. And then he got promoted up the order, I'm guessing, in the second dig, scoring 69, batting at number 6. Yorkshire's favourite son, Darren Gough, former captain, made his Test debut against New Zealand at Manchester, July 94, and he took 4 for 47 in that drawn match. He played 58 Tests for England and took 229 wickets. And just something from school. I came across this one here. England became the first team to score 500 runs in a single day's play, putting on 503 for 2 wickets, and still had time to declare and have a bowl versus South Africa. Now, this record lasted until 2002, when Sri Lanka overtook it, scoring 509 in a day against Bangladesh. That's some crazy batting and scoring. Probably batter-friendly pitches, if anything. So that's it for this week in history.
And thank you for that, Rohit. It's like quite a bit going on there. And it'll be awesome one day when they get fibre into Whitianga, won't it?
Yeah. We're on VDSL, man. It's quicker than the fibre will get.
Move past dial-up.
Dial-up, yeah. How's that modem going under? Is it still running under the desk there? No, look, moving right along, we've had the history. We'll get into this week with the news with Taryn.
Alrighty, so we'll start with the African nations, news out of South Africa. South Africa's 3TC competition is rescheduled for July 18th. You would have recollected from a couple of weeks ago when we mentioned this 3-way cricket game, which was proposed as a charity game to raise funds for players affected by COVID, was rescheduled due to the South African Sports Ministry not signing off on it. Well, now they've finally got a date, and that will be playing on the 18th of July. Here in New Zealand, former New Zealand batsman Peter Fulton has stepped down as the national team's batting coach in order to become the head coach of Canterbury men's Yeah, first class side. Fulton, who had replaced Craig McMillan, took up the New Zealand job after the 2019 World Cup. In his brief career post retirement, Fulton has coached the New Zealand 19 sides also. And this rise to the top is now signed off by a full time gig with the Canterbury Kings or Wizards or just Canterbury, one of the three. Moving on to ICC, ICC Chairman Shashak Manohar stepped down following 2 terms in the role. He will be replaced by Imran Khawaja, who's a former president of the Singapore Cricket Association. Khawaja was elected as ICC's deputy chairman in 2017 after Manohar became the global cricket body's inaugural independent chairman. Imran Khawaja, along with outgoing ECB chairman Colin Grave, have been talked as the frontrunners to replace Manohar, although an outside bet, and outside also in the reckoning, could be BCCI President Saurav Ganguly, who became eligible after he participated in his first ICC board meeting earlier in the year. On to England. Phil Simmons faces calls for sacking after leaving the lockdown to attend funeral. The president of the Barbados Cricket Association has called for his immediate removal of Phil Simmons as a head coach of West Indies. Conde Riley, who's also on the board of directors for Cricket West Indies, has described Simmons' decision to attend a family funeral inconsiderate and reckless, and claimed that it has endangered lives for the rest of the touring party. Simmons, based in the UK, was granted compassionate leave and leave the training base to attend the funeral of his father-in-law. As a consequence, he's been in quarantine watching his team train from his balcony. Moving on to the Caribbean, and some sad news. Sir Everton Weekes, the last member of the 3Ws, has died at the age of 95. Alongside Sir Clyde Walcott and Sir Frank Worrell, Weekes formed the formidable batting unit of the West Indies. All three were born within a couple of miles of each other. Rumour has it they were also delivered by the same midwife within 18 months in Barbados. Between August 1924 and January 1926, all three of them made their test debuts within 3 weeks, early 48. Born into extreme poverty, Mr. Weekes lived in a wooden shack where his father was obliged to spend most of his time working in Trinidad, sending money back to Barbados. Everton left school at 14 and was barred from playing for his local cricket club, Pickwick, as they only permitted white players at the time. He made his first-class debut as a 19-year-old and his test debut as a 22-year-old. His first test century didn't come until his 4th game, but that started an incredible run which saw him register 6 centuries, including 5 in succession. He only ever was dismissed once for fewer than 48 runs. He was also named Wisden's Cricketer of the Year in 1951 after helping defeat England in the previous summer's Test Series, a tour in which he made 7 centuries, 5 of them double centuries, and 1 triple. He averaged 102 in the series against India and was equally dominant against New Zealand in the 55-56 series, where he made 3 centuries and averaged 83. His son, David Murray, I never knew this, also played for West Indies. He also coached Canada at the 1979 World Cup. So that's the news from me.
Just bring everybody back in, and yeah, that's obviously very sad news with Weekes passing away, and it's one of the greats of the game, and as you sort of alluded to, quite a force with the 3Ws when they were in partnership together there for the West Indies. Just also just in response to Simon, I'll just bring up the comment there, and just in response to Simon's question regarding details for the England West Indies series that's coming up. Yes, that will be shown on Sky in New Zealand, from what I can tell, unless I'm looking at the Sky in UK. So that is the only proviso I give you, Simon. But I've just quickly looked it up. I think I might have found it. Paul wasn't sure, but hopefully that's going to be on Sky. So yes, so and sort of
If
like
not, there's enough good websites out there.
This is
What
like
are you
Not
just,
live,
advocating?
enough of the
Tell
website
us.
just
stuff.
trying on the fly, trying to find the information. Yeah. Look, I mean, obviously, with the this week in history, and then obviously with the sad passing of Sir Everton Weeks, it sort of brings us nicely into our topic for what we're going to be discussing today, and that is the Test series between England and the West Indies for the greatly named Wisden Trophy, which just a sort of background of it is basically named after the Wisden almanac. So that's where the series name comes from for the trophy. So just moving into that, and how you guys? I mean, obviously, as I mentioned, there's been some minor little cricket leagues going on around the world, but you must be looking forward to seeing some top tier cricket back in action.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Look, these cricket that is happening, or you want to call it cricket, but it's not the cricket. It's not the cricket. Um, this come 8th of July, I think we'll probably start seeing what cricket's going to look like, maybe for the next 12 months, and we're just going to have to get used to it. It'll be quite exciting to see how it all plays out. I know they're having internal games at the moment. I think it's Team Butler against Team Stokes in the internal
That's right.
England game. Team Braithwaite and Team Holder bashing it out somewhere else as well. Some new names have made some scores as well, so it'll be interesting to see if any of them cut the mustard and make it into the 14. James Bracey, the opening batsman, scored 80 odd. Dan Lawrence, the middle order batter, he got 50 odd, I think. So yeah, it'll be interesting when the name decides.
Yep, that's right, and we'll bring that up a little bit later in the show in terms of we'll bring up the squads and just see some of those names that we recognise and some of the names we don't recognise because there are some new players and new faces coming through. Rohit, it's sort of like you're sort of like hanging out for next Wednesday and starting to see a bit of Test cricket happen. Nope.
Yeah,
Is he there?
definitely. Looking forward to seeing some action. What's going on? Sorry,
Whoop.
we're getting real technical issues down here.
You need to put that
Yes.
thing on mute, mate.
They're digging up the road so we can get fibre. But definitely looking forward to seeing some cricket. I've been sitting there watching all the old footage that Sky's been showing us lately. So to get some fresh cricket will be great.
Yeah.
I just wanted to put something out there for you, though.
Put something out there.
Just a thought. Now, I mean, the favourites for the Test series is probably going to be the home side, right?
Who's
And
that?
there was talk previously around the toss. Yeah?
Oh yeah.
So why not try and use this as an option to let visiting team choose what they want to do?
Yeah, no, it's. I mean, like, there's talk about it, so possibly, especially with the unusual circumstances that will be around this game, possibly an opportunity to try it.
Absolutely.
You don't look convinced, Taryn.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah. It's
What?
all
That he
well
doesn't
and
look
good.
convinced.
It's all well and good.
It's
At a
not
first
cricket.
class level where you want to try and develop, take away certain advantages or want to develop full, complete cricketers, etc. But at the high end, this is it. This is the top end. There's no faffing around with that. Like, there's home advantage. That's all part and parcel of the game. You go to Australia, you do it tough. You go to England, you do it with swing. You go to the Caribbean, you do it with pace. That's just part of the game. You don't want to tinker with that. Not for me. It's not for me anyway.
So basically, you're a no in total for the away team deciding on what they're going to do without a toss, doing away with
Not
the
at the
toss.
test match level. I think
Not.
it makes sense at the first class level. I get it.
Yep.
Where it stops coaches from preloading their competitions and squads just to get wins under their belt. Because
And
in essence, they are trying to develop more national team players. So it doesn't bode well for the overall health of the game. I get that. But
Yep.
not at an international level.
do you think for ODIs?
No, absolutely not. It's
Okay. So not
Cricket
at
is
the
one of the
international level
few
at all.
games that's got variables, right? There's so many variables that are outside your control, and that is the beauty of the game. You know, even the
Nice.
LB shouts, there's a human element to it. And you know, the weather, like if you take away the toss in India in a day-night game, nine out of 10 times in certain venues, teams will guaranteed bowl first because they don't want to field in the dew.
Yep.
So it just loads it in certain favors. But if you put a toss to it, it's a 50-50. It is a 50-50.
No, that's fine. Well,
that is
just
true. That is true.
moving back into the England West Indies, look, going to go back with a bit of history here, just so as I said, they play for the Wisden Trophy. So far there has been 117 Test matches played under the auspices of the Wisden Trophy matches, and West Indies have won 47 of those. England have picked up 34. There have been 36 draws. Brian Lara, surprise, surprise, has been the top. They scored the most runs in Wisden Trophy. He scored 2,983, just missing out by what? Is that 17 runs on getting to 3,000? And one of my favourite players of all time, Curtly Ambrose, top wicket taker with 164. So that's any surprises there? Do you think with the West Indies dominating?
I'll start. Considering how poor they've been in the last 25 years,
Mm.
we can sit there and go, oh my God, they've been on the decline. But it shows how incredibly strong they were the years gone by. That they've, even after 25 years of pretty poor performance, they still hold the edge easily, like by a long shot.
Yep.
And I'll finish that by saying, although West Indies have been poor in the last 25 years, they've drawn against it. They've put out their best performances almost on a regular basis against England. England have not had it easy in the West Indies.
Yeah, and
Of course,
that'll
New
come.
Zealand's gone there and won, but England hasn't gone there and rocked up and just picked up wins.
We'll come to that in a second with the last series that they played. And it's like I absolutely agree with you, Taryn. It's just like when I saw those, when I was typing it all up today, bashing it up on the old keyboard today, and I was really surprised. As I said, West Indies have sort of struggled over the last sort of recent times. So to see that they're still ahead by a considerable number there, 47 to 34. Yeah, I was quite surprised to see that West Indies was still the more successful country with it, or team, I should say, within the Wisden Trophy. Moving nicely into our last Test series that they actually played, which was in the West Indies in the Caribbean in 2019. So only last year, and I don't know if you guys have had a chance to see the actual figures, but I'll read them out here. Basically, quickly, the first and second test were won in a romp by the West Indies. So in the first test, West Indies scored 289 and then bowled England out in the first innings for 77. And then West Indies in their second turn at bat scored 415, and the 415 was quite interesting because it was actually the runs were scored by their all-rounders. For one of, they have to be all-rounders. Jason Holder scoring a double century on that occasion, and then once they declared it. Where was it played? That was played in Barbados, the first test.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
And so Jason Holder double century. They declared it 6 down, and obviously with it feeling enough runs on the board, and they weren't wrong. They sent England came back in the second innings. They fared a bit better than their 77, 246 they've got, and Holder with his man of the match for 202. Dowrich picking up 100, and Roston Chase in the second innings picked up 8 wickets.
Or 8 for. I remember that.
Yeah. So that it was a quite a sensational first test start for the West Indies. They backed that up in the second test, which was played in Antigua. England again getting rolled quite cheaply for 187. They batted first this time. West Indies, they got 306. And then basically England just capitulated, and not quite as bad as the 77 in that first test, but 132. Big win for the West Indies by 10 wickets. And the interesting thing, and we'll talk about this later on with key players, is that there was no standout performances in that second test. There was basically everybody chipping in, whether it was with runs or wickets. So when you go back and you have a look in the second wicket, I think, geez, my mind's gone blank. I think it might have been Roston Chase again picked up or not Roston Chase, sorry. No, my mind's gone blank. But one of the they got a century in the second innings, but other than that, or that first innings, but other than that, the runs were pretty much shared around.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's quite interesting, isn't it? Test 1, Test 2, and the West Indies dominating.
Team effort.
Yeah. I remember that Barbados one. I almost, to me, I remember watching. Well, remember waking up, seeing the scores, and going, "Oh, you know how like the timing of games in West Indies actually works. If you get up early enough in New Zealand,
It does.
you
It
catch
does.
the last couple of hours of a lot of cricket."
Yep. That's right.
I remember getting up and going, "Oh wow, there's something happened here," and then you quickly jump on there and then you start watching. I remember thinking at the time, going, that was a bit of a change in selection policy.
Mhm.
I'd love for you to pull up the team sheet. Actually, pull up the team sheet, then I'll continue with my story from that
Okay, you
first
keep
test.
talking and let me do that if I can.
Because I think they went with no spinner, and Roston Chase was the only spinner, where he's basically a number 4 bat. So he's not really in the side as a spinner, but he is in the side as a spinner.
It's gonna dun, dun, dun. It was the beginning of the
You got it?
year. No, it's taking me just oh, where's it gone? There it is. And just about there. I'll bring up the scorecard
Yeah, read
and
the names.
share it to the screen. I'll just grow that a bit. So basically, there's the batting card from the first innings.
Yeah.
So which part did you want me to bring up?
No, that's
Anything?
fine. Is that all
Yep.
11 players there that batted? 1,
That's
2,
all 11.
3,
Yeah,
4, 5, 6, 7,
first innings.
8, 9, 10, 11. Right. If you almost look back a year prior, or maybe a year prior, if you look back to another scorecard, you
Yep.
would see a lot of their bowling or a lot of their teams were based around Trinidadian and Guyanese players.
Yep.
Like you had your not Sarwans, like Ryans, Adrian Barrett, Chandapals. You get the gist, right? The
Yep.
Indo-Caribbean players, they played a different way, and because the years prior to that, they had a lot of spin domination. They were playing on dead wickets. They were playing with spinners. They had Veerasamy Pramod from Guyana bowling, Narayan from the other end, and they were playing quite a subcontinental brand of cricket. And I'm even gonna say that it was Phil Simmons coaching this team at the time, and they made a conscious effort to go back to the West Indies of the old, and I believe they asked for a quick pitch, and they went with the big bad quicks and tried to just decimate sides like they used to back in the day, as opposed
Yep.
to the modern way. They really made a conscious effort to play the old West Indian way, and it worked for them. A batter bowling a bit of finger spin, and then they just tried to bomb people out. And
Yeah.
you see
Look,
the names are missing. If you go back a few years, you would have seen a lot of spinners, Pramod and Shane Shillingford and Narayan and all those boys. There's none of them in this list.
yeah. And I mean, and
That's my theory.
Conversely speaking, if you look at that, this is the 77 that England scored in that first innings in the first test. This is like they've got their guns there. They've got Bairstow, they've got Root, Stokes,
Oh yeah,
Butler, and I mean,
mate, they
it's
got
not
blown
like they've
out.
sent a second-rate team or anything out there.
No, they just got blown out.
Absolutely, that's right. So basically, so then they sort of so as I said, West Indies basically wrapped up the series pretty easily, and then the third test came along, and England got a bit of revenge in that, and I'll just chop that back here, and England first innings they got 277. West Indies replied with 154. England back in with the second innings with 361 for 5, obviously with quite a handy sort of second innings lead, and then they were able to bowl the West Indies out for 252. And obviously England got some consolation after losing those first two rather heavily, but you can't help but feeling that the West Indies probably partied pretty hard after that second test win and wrapping up the series.
Yeah, I think. Yeah,
Why wouldn't you?
Why wouldn't you? I mean, like they were so convincing. I mean, they were emphatic. The first and second test were emphatic, and you would sort of say that the third test was quite an anomaly.
You'd even go back to the 15s, right? 2015 series. Where it was a drawn
Now you're
series.
stretching
So
me.
England went there. No, they went there because I
Yeah,
remember that because Ramden got 100, and I
right.
used to like watching him play at the time. And I'm just looking at the scores here. The first test was a draw in North Sound, which is Antigua.
Yep.
Then they went to St. George's. Where's St. George? Wherever St. George, that might be Dominica.
Oh, pass.
They went
I'm
there.
not sure. I'll be. Yeah.
And then the third
Oh,
test, they went back to Bridgetown and
Yeah,
West
no.
Indies
Yep.
won again.
yep.
No,
You go to Bridgetown,
I'll bring that up. Give me a
right?
second.
They had Cook, they had Trot, they had Balance, Bell. Well, Balance not necessarily a big name, but they had Root, Moen Ali, Stoke, Butler, Jordan. And this time around, they had Jerome Taylor, Gabriel, Holder, Samuels, Pramal. And they won that test.
Yep. So it's just like basically. So in terms of the they've still got quite a fast battery there, isn't it? And this is like they go Barbados and they've got the fast pitch.
Yeah, must be, yeah.
So
And
they've
they
obviously
stopped
gone, as
going
you
to
said, go
Guyana.
back to the formula. Go back to the formula. All the pitches we want fast, and we're gonna bounce them.
Mm,
We're gonna bowl fast.
St. George's, yeah, exactly. So they used to. So what I think they tend to do is when the Asian teams come, they take them to Trinidad and Guyana just for numbers, for the viewership.
Yep.
Because obviously there's a big expat community there. Well, not expat, but in the Caribbean community there. So, and then the West Indians, that they take them with the big touring parties that take them to the more touristy islands just to kind of service the region.
Yep. You gotta sort of extract the dollar from the tourist as well, don't you? That barmy army coming around, you know, you got to make some coin while they're there.
Yeah. But yeah.
So that was basically, so that's a bit of a recap on what happened last time. So West Indies do hold the Wisden Trophy. They'll be going in there to this 2020 series in the UK as the holders of the Wisden Trophy. Coming into the squads, England are yet to finalise their squad, and I'm just going to bring that up in terms of the as Taryn alluded to in the news. There's the two squads that are basically playing an inter squad game at the moment, and I suppose when you look at the key names in there, Taryn, Rohit, you know pretty much who the 11 or 13 are going to be, don't you?
Yeah. Exactly.
With-
Oh yeah. You can. Yeah, you can. I think. I'm not sure if I think there's a few spots up for grabs. You've got Leach and Dom Bess might be for the spinner spot.
Right.
I don't know. I think Dom Bess played recently.
You
But
don't think
Leach
you don't think Moen Ali with the batting option as well, with his bowling and batting?
Oh, wasn't he dropped recently?
He was dropped recently. Yes, he was, and so he's looking to make amends, and obviously he's going to be battling hard in this training match, and looking at it as a second opportunity to try and get back in.
Mm. So there's no Root, right? We all know there's no Root.
Root will be missing from the first test. Obviously his wife's pregnant, and they're expecting their second child this week. So Root will be missing for this first test, and Ben Stokes, the good Kiwi cricketer, will be taking over the captaincy.
We need to let that go, eh?
Let it go. We're Kiwis. We don't let things go.
What's your thoughts around that? That's right. We don't let things go. What's your thoughts around Stokesy being the skip?
Who else would you go for? Who do you reckon?
So the other option was Butler, basically. So I think it was between Butler and Stokes.
Mm.
That's my.
is what's his name? What's the other keeper's name? The ginger. Um,
Oh, yeah, I know. Mine's
Yeah,
gone blank.
Bairstow. Is he in the mix?
Besto,
Johnny.
Besto.
Is
I'm
he
just
still in the
Johnny's
looking
mix?
there.
through.
He's in Team
He's
Stokes.
in the Stoke squad. He's in the
Mm.
Stoke squad. So, but I think they're
Yeah,
looking at Butler ahead of Besto.
yeah. So like, so it's not a sure thing.
Yep.
Like you can easily Bairstow could easily make the cut, so you can't really say Butler. I mean,
What
Oh, I
about
see
a
what you're
what about
saying.
a
Yeah. You gotta cement your spot in the team first before you can
Stuart Broad?
put the captain in.
Josh
What about a
Butler's
Stewie
test average
Broad?
is 31, right?
Yep.
He's played 41 test matches. He's averaging 31. That's not. I wouldn't say that's flash. I've never played test cricket, but you don't have to be a test cricketer to tell you that's not flash.
Whose figures were they? Sorry again, Taryn.
Butler.
Butler. Right.
Yeah,
Joss.
there you go. Johnny Bairstow.
Would you? What about throwing a name out there, Stuart Broad?
I think it's the same category though, especially with the fact that they're talking about rotation within their quicks.
Right.
So you got rotation within the quicks, and the fact that there's actually a lot of competition for the 4 spots. If they take 4 quicks in, they've got a lot of competition in the 4 quick spots for the
Sure.
quicks.
Okay, now it's like picking one out of. It's like the lesser of the two evils, really, because one bloke's played 40 odd tests and he's averaging 31.
Right.
Bairstow has played 70 test matches, averaging 34.
So it's funny when you it's just like that's going back to New Zealand averages of sort of the 80s.
It is. It
Tell you
is.
what,
And they were good averages.
They were good for us.
okay, well, if
Yep.
you think those two are goodish test players, mate, I'm just going to say there's a bloke in New Zealand, 70 test matches, averaging 38.5, called BJ Watling. That
Oh
is
yeah.
gum.
Yep. And the number of times and the other thing with BJ Watling's performances, number of times he's come in deep in the innings. Well, when I say deep in the innings, he's come in when we've had a little bit of a scare in terms of the wickets falling early, and he's knuckled down and he just plays out ball after ball. So yeah, no, absolutely, you'd take a BJ Watling over those two, wouldn't you?
The poor guy
Absolutely.
earned probably a third of what these two earn, or probably even a quarter.
Yeah,
He's got to be the really underrated player, unfortunately.
but I
Probably the
think
one
Josh
guy
Butler.
you'd pick to bet for your life. I think BJ Watling's probably the man
Yep,
to bet
he's
for
the
your
man.
life.
Out of the
Absolutely.
current crop, yeah.
I'm sort of thinking though with Butler, what he needs to do is he needs to realise he's playing Test cricket, and because he is really quite a T20 specialist, isn't he? He's sort of quite the extravagant player in terms of that T20. Oh, Taryn, you got your mute. Oh, yeah, there we go.
Now, so look, there's some very good T20 players play Test cricket, right? I don't think that's an issue, but he's had some genuine brain fakes the way.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
if you look at
absolutely.
some dismissals, I don't think. Yeah, it's almost as if it'll be a sin to call blame Butler's failures on T20. I think he's just got done a few times. Sometimes he looks like he doesn't want to be there, like the way he just looks.
But it's tempering your game for the right format, isn't it? That's what it's all about. For the moment, and it's just like you're looking at the moment. I mean, Test match. The reason why we love Test match cricket is because there's so many. You could. It changes. It changes. That when you're coming in, when when it's your turn to bat, it could be, you don't know what the circumstances that you're going to be walking out to the middle, and what circumstances might be, and you have to change your game plan based on how your team's performing. If you've got runs on the board, you can have a go. If you've lost early wickets, you need to temper your game and make sure that you knuckle down and basically see out a little bit of time before you actually have a go.
Would
that be fair to say?
It's funny. Look, yeah,
That's
absolutely. There's a wonderful
totally.
article on Cricinfo maybe a couple of years ago. It was about Rahul Dravid's value add within the Indian a system, a program. So some of the players came out and spoke about what Rahul Dravid brings to the system or to them. And in that article, he talks about creating a complete cricketer and playing to the situation. And the article is based around that. And he says if you're a test player, if you want to be a first class player or a test player, you have to have the ability, the technical nous, and the mental strength to bat. I'm going to bat as number 5, 2 overs before lunch when you're 70 for 3. We should be ready to go in 5 overs into the game when you're 3 for 10, or go in the next morning at 280 for 3 and have the ability to play at that tempo in every given situation. And that's what you're talking about, ain't
Yeah,
you?
it's 100%.
You and
That's it.
Dravid, same thing. That's it.
Oh man, that's it. I'm waiting for my coaching contract to come through any day now.
But then you get those players that come along and go, "That's the way I play," and they don't. You know what I'm talking about here.
Oh,
So
Brendan McCullum was
yeah,
pretty much doesn't matter what the
absolutely.
situation of the game, the way he played
Exactly.
was the way he played, wasn't it?
Yeah, and it does fire you up because we're talking about changing your tempo of the way you play to the game and what's going on at that time. But the way I play is this way, and they're not changing it. That doesn't suit the team, doesn't it? When you need to play a two,
Yep.
adapt
He
to
did
the
change his game
conditions
though
and
when he
the
got that
timing
triple
of
hundred
what's in the
following
game.
on. He did change his game, didn't he? When he got that triple hundred against India, he changed his game. So he had the ability to change his game.
Oh, he
there's a
definitely
couple of
has the
other
ability.
people as well. Yeah.
Yeah, he definitely has the ability to change the game. But more often than not, you'd have to say he basically went on and he played his aggressive game most of the time.
Yeah.
I
mean,
think
that's
he
another.
genuinely believed he needed that to get himself going.
Yes,
He genuinely believed the team needed him to do that. He probably identified that he was the best at doing it.
Yeah,
without
I'd
beating
agree.
himself up.
As
And he
opposed
pretty
to a
much
few
sacrificed
others.
himself.
Oh, well, I suppose we better go and have a chat about the West Indian team. And here we are. There it is up on screen now. And obviously, Jason Holder is the captain. But as I alluded to when we talked about that 2019 series, when you look down that list, Jason Holder's actually within the top 20 bowlers. They've actually got 3 of their West Indian quicks are in the top 20. But
in the world
really
or just in the series?
What's that, sorry?
Top 20 in the world, I hope.
Yes, top 20 in the Test cricket rankings.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Top 20 bowlers.
So ranking. Sorry. Yeah. I better be more specific. Top 20 ICC Test player bowler rankings at the moment. But you'd have to say it's a team. There's this. You don't really look at it like the England time, and you see a Stokes and a Root, although Root's not playing in the first Test. These are basically a bunch of players that play cohesively as a team and work for each other.
Yeah, you're right. I think there's some very good players there, like proper players that don't get the kudos because they don't appear on our TV screens on IPLs when they're playing IPL and all that.
Yep.
So that's probably why. Like Roston Chase is a very good player.
Yes.
He averages more. He averages the same as Josh Butler, but a lot of people recognize Butler, but nobody would know much about Roston Chase, right?
Chase, absolutely. Yep, 100%. No, and in terms of being, I think if we looked at one key player within their squad, that would have to be their captain and Jason Holder, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
he's the one that pulls everybody together.
He's carrying a niggle. He's coming off an ankle injury.
Yep.
He hasn't bowled in any of the warm-up games. And he's picked up a pair and looked very uncomfortable reading the reports when he was batting. So his form is a bit of a worry. And Roach, you put Roach aside, Gabriel probably doesn't swing the ball. Raymond Reefer is a bit of an unknown commodity. I don't think any of England players will be losing any sleep over it.
Yep.
Alzari Joseph, you're going to say, well, he's probably gassy, but you don't need to be gassy in England. You need to be accurate and consistent.
Swing it, use the Duke ball.
Yeah, so he probably doesn't fit that mold. Roach, we know, can swing it. So a lot comes down to Holder being able to give them that control with the ball.
Yep.
And that's probably something they're going to be worried about. Like I know there's talk of Joseph walking into the side. I think they might look at Raymond Reefer. I think Raymond Reefer is a left arm seamer. And he may have even toured New Zealand actually.
Okay. I've missed that one, definitely. What are
Mm.
your thoughts on Chima Holder? Obviously, been selected. He's been away out of the team for a while. He had one test a few years back, and then off the back of a great domestic season, being the top wicket taker, he's made it back into the squad. Do you think he's a chance for the first test?
Chima Holder?
Yeah.
Nah. I think he's a backup. I think you'll see all things being equal, you'll see their full side I reckon would be Roach, Gabriel, Joseph, and Jason Holder, the four quicks. However, I think Somerset they're not playing on traditional test pitches anymore, right? They're playing at biosecure venues.
Yes.
And so, how much do we know about Southampton as a test venue? Probably
Not
not a lot.
much.
Like
Not a
you
lot.
could easily say, hey, and this is not May either. May, you're expecting it to swing, do all sorts. This is July in England.
Yes, and absolutely, as reported in the news in the last few days, the temperature's actually gone up considerably, and the Englishmen are going out to the beach. That's that 1 week in the year where they head out to the beach.
Yeah.
Hey, throw a name out there. The youngster,
Throw a name out there.
O'Shane Thomas. If Holder's not able to
Oh
bowl,
yes, again, he's another guy. Well, that upsets your batting lineup though. If he can't bowl, you're probably going to be quite a long tail. That's
Right.
that's the problem you're going to carry.
yep. Which, well,
I think a lot's going to
That's-
fall on the spinner.
yep.
Which is
I think it
who
is
are you
going
picking as your
to.
spin option?
Who are we going to be? Hope.
Shai Hope.
I think it's Nakumra Bonner. Looking at that squad,
Is Raheem serious?
yes, Raheem is one.
Is it Cornwall?
Oh, so he could give them that
Yep.
depth by if Raheem plays because he can bat, he can buff it too. So the remaining one bowl, Nakumra Bonner is a leg spinner. Craig Braithwaite gives you a bit of off spin. I don't think Brooks is a bowler. Campbell's opening bat. Chase gives you the ball. So they could go with four quicks, Holder at 7, and let Chase do all the bowling. Or go with 3 quicks, Raheem Cornwall at 8, Jason Holder at 7, and Dowrich at 6 with 5 batters to give themselves that depth.
So that's the squad. So we'll obviously have to see what comes out of these inter-squad matches between the obviously West Indies. They've actually had 2. I think one wrapped up yesterday with England's inter-squad match still carrying on at the moment. So it'll be interesting. Actually, out of the inter-squad matches, they'll pick. I'm guessing they'll both cut it down to sort of a 13 to pick from for the match day team. That would be a fair assumption.
Yeah, I think, although the travelling party always has the option to pick out of the 15 or 16 that's going with them.
Yeah.
But England will name 14-man squad. I think they like naming a 14-man squad. Well, they kind of have to stay together regardless, right? They're not allowed to go back home.
The extended squads all stay together anyway because one of the stipulations, or not stipulations, sorry, but one of the agreements for the series is that should somebody come down with any symptoms that could be COVID, then a player can be substituted out basically with anybody from within the squad. So it's just like it's an extension of the concussion laws around substituting players. So
the thing about one of the West Indian guys, bit of a connection here. He's Raymond Reefer. His cousin is Floyd Reefer, who was the former captain of Barbados captained West Indies when they had a player strike. He came out of nowhere, became the captain. In fact, he was their head coach at the recently concluded Cricket World Cup. And now
Oh,
he's the
wow.
batting coach. Yep. And now
Okay.
he's the batting coach for the team. That's his uncle. And I actually lived with him in 2001 as a 17-year-old. He was a
Where was
pro
that?
and I was an amateur in Scotland.
This guy, all right.
Yeah.
In
Big
Scotland,
boy
you went and
Reaper.
just digress there, right? So you went and had spent a year or two in Scotland, did you?
I played 2 seasons there.
Yep.
And my first season, it was straight out of school. I was 17, got the opportunity to go. I took it. And I got to stay with this wonderful West Indian cricketer who showed me how to live life on and off the field. So
That off-field sounds rather interesting. We might have to go into that in another day. But you would have had was a suitcase packed with thermals?
oh no, not really. We didn't have much. I remember getting to the airport, my dad's like, "Oh, you got any money?" I thought, nah, they said they're gonna give me a job and I get paid a little bit to play. And he's like, you're gonna need some money. He looked in his wallet, he had $60. And he's like, here you go. I didn't have a job or anything, so I had 60
Yep.
I took the 60, guess I better convert it. I got 19 pounds out of it. And so I went.
And away you went.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
No, awesome.
Yeah, Floyd Reefer, top man, top man. I'm so happy to see that he's got to where he is. So awesome.
No, fantastic. And it's great to hear those stories as well. Well, so moving on to the environment itself. So I suppose, what are we expecting from this pitch? As that Taryn's just alluded to, it's not April. We're now going into middle of summer for them. So the conditions aren't going to be your traditional sort of, well, they might be, they might not be, I don't know. Are they going to be your traditional swinging ball, lots of seam movement, green tops? What are we expecting?
What do you I think the Rose Bowl is a very small white ball orientated ground.
So,
It's a circular ground.
Yep.
And I think it's quite a small ground.
right.
So I don't know how the test matches are going to go there, eh? I'm
There
even
could be
tempted
some
to
good
say it might
run
turn.
rates. Sorry, say that again. I was just talking over you.
I'm tempted to say it might even turn there.
Okay. Which would make
Or
it
the
interesting with the selections.
I'm getting Southampton and Taunton mixed up. So one of them turns and one of them is just an absolute hell for leather humdinger of a wicket. So
Right.
unless they produce an absolute green one for Test cricket.
Yep.
But then the public have been starved of cricket. Do you really want competitive cricket or do you want something to last 5 days from a marketing and money making perspective?
I mean, this personal view, I actually like to see you ball beating the bat in a test match.
Yeah.
Nipping around.
Nipping around, testing. I mean, it's a test match. You're testing the batsman. And yeah, that's what you'd like to. Yeah.
So I looked it up.
But being so hot
there's
over there,
actually a
you
test
have to
played
think
there.
it's dry.
When I look up Southampton, I can't find any test matches on the
Yep.
pitch.
Right.
I only find ODIs and T20 internationals. So it makes me
Yep.
think
So
it's just a beautiful one-day wicket.
Yep. Which means that could be quite a good run rate going on there with sort of 300 in a day even.
Well, the highest one-day score, there's been 26 games played. The highest one-day score was 373.
Yep.
The highest T20 international score, 5 games played, is 248. Average bat first score is 172. And highest T20 domestic score is 200.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, it's a high scoring ground. So really, that makes it quite an interesting in terms of it's not going to be a true test. We, as I said, it's going to be a very different test match from what we're expecting in terms of a traditional test match. Again, depending on how the curators set the pitch up or tended to the pitch.
Yeah. Well, that's exactly it, right? The ground is in
Ground-
control, and they're so experienced, and they have so much technology and resource at hand that they can manipulate it as they see fit.
Yeah.
I wonder if they also have to stay in the bubble, and they can't leave the place.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Everybody associated with the match is staying in the biosecure environment. So because obviously we've got the match officials, but then you'll have there's obviously people that event manager type for want of a term that they're all having to stay within the biosecure environment. I'm
Yeah.
assuming, and I don't know this for a fact, but I'm assuming that all the camera staff, so the broadcast staff, will have to stay in the biosecure environment as well.
So
So
I found it.
everybody associated with it.
Right, here we go. Taunton's a small ground because Southampton is one of the biggest grounds in England. The fitness of a player will play an important role in the upcoming match.
So it's a big ground, but obviously
and
it's a
the pitch
fixed
will help
outfield.
spinners.
Yep. Yeah, definitely.
So does that suddenly mean Raheem Cornwall now comes back into the equation? England might even play two spinners.
Two spinners.
With Moeen playing as a bat, allowing for Leach. Well, Leach or Don Bess. I think Leach in this case because he's a left arm spinner, and Ali will give him the off spin option. West
Right.
Indies has more right handers than left, so Leach becomes more of a threat over Don Bess.
And they'll be cheered on by cardboard cutouts in the stand.
All those MPs that like to travel everywhere in England.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, those ones that just happen to
They
turn
might-
up.
Are we
they
going to
might
get
look
the
at
fake
that.
crowd noise?
Time. So,
Mm.
okay, so England's going to be looking out for revenge, aren't they, after their poor performance in the Caribbean only last year? What are we picking? We're picking home conditions, England at home, even though it's rather going to be a weird atmosphere, weird environment, would still be picking England to be going in as favourites into this, I'm assuming.
Do we picking favourites or people I'd like to see win?
I think we would like to see West Indies win. Sorry, Paul in the background. But
Did you see there's an article Stuart Broad had to see a psychologist to get his head around playing without crowds? That is seriously
Yes, I
first
did
world
see that.
problems. Eh? That is proper first world problems.
Proper first world problems, absolutely.
Right, my God.
He's going to have
That's like,
car
honestly,
sitting
like,
around. So
come
what's
on,
the diff?
man.
So what's that, Roy?
I reckon. It's going to
Oh,
have
you reckon?
cardboard cutouts in the stands. So there's your crowd.
Yeah, and then put some crowd noise over the PA system just for Stuart Broad,
Absolutely.
and that'll keep him
Hey,
happy.
I'll be interested
That's
to
awesome.
see about this. But I'll be interested about this. The ball and the treatment of the ball with no spit and polish going on. So,
Absolutely, actually, good
like we
point. We
spoke
haven't
about a
discussed
few
that
episodes ago, right?
because there hasn't been anything
Yeah,
in the
so it's gonna
news
be-
in the wires.
I think there'll be more spin then if
Mm.
they can't keep the ball going.
Yep, that's right.
Another reason why
Yeah.
I think it'll be quite lush, the wicket will be lush to try and hold on to the ball as long as possible.
Yep,
Oh
which
my
then plays
God.
into the seamer's hand.
Can someone ban Aaron from this thing?
Yeah. Hey, your mate, you better take him out and deal with him. Hey, so basically, okay, let's who do you Rohit, who's going to win the first test?
Who's going to win the first test? I think the home conditions, home team.
Taryn,
It'll be the England.
Draw.
you're going to go for a draw? Going to be big scores and nobody's getting wickets and there's no ball maintenance. There's no turn because the pitch is green.
No ball maintenance, and I don't think they'll be able to get the pitch to play tricks.
Yep.
So yeah, and high scoring draw. I hope with
High scoring draw.
with the Indies on top, like coming out with the bragging right.
Yeah.
They have the pace and fire.
Pace and fire. But we'd like to see a bit of aggression from the fast bowlers because we like to see a bit bounces and the like with the batsman hopping around the crease.
Hey, you think Archer will make the cut? Do you think
Who?
Archer will
Absolutely.
make
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think Joffrey Archer. Oh, that
Oh,
was
he's
actually one of my points. Sorry. I mean, yeah. I mean, we didn't actually talk about the key players for England. We've been Joe Root. So we're going to have to backtrack a little bit here, but yeah, we got Joe Root missing from the first test, as we've talked about. Ben Stokes as captain, and Joffrey Archer coming up against his under-19 teammates.
quite
He's
a
going to be
few of them,
blowing.
eh? I think he
Yeah,
grew up
quite a
with
few.
quite a
Yeah,
few of
yeah,
them.
well, absolutely. There was quite a few from the under-19s. I think even if they're not selected in the match day 11, there's definitely in the squad. Definitely under-19 players that he would have played with.
I wonder if they're allowed to interact, or are they in different bubbles and they're not?
Oh, at the end of the day, it's one bubble, isn't it? I think, although everybody's staying there, so I
I'm
think
not actually
with the
Brookfield,
interaction,
so I
I'm
can't talk about
assuming,
bubbles.
I think they'll all be at the bubble. There'll be one bubble, one big bubble, one loving
Yeah.
family bubble.
Mm.
How do you think? Do you think there is that thing, isn't it? Archer comes up again. Could work both ways. Archer and the West Indies when they're bowling to each other, in particular, getting carried away and basically trying to get some verbals out there. No,
You
you don't
got to
think so?
socially distance. You got to socially distance, so you can't get too close. You know, you
Even
got to
out of the
keep.
playing, even in the playing arena.
You got to socially distance with those 2 meter rules. Come on, and then you get too far away, and the camera picks you up because there's no crowd noise to mask what you're trying to say. Now you're on hiding for nothing. Every match referee under the sun's got nothing to do, so this is the only test match. So there's a lot of eyes on it.
Yeah,
No,
absolutely.
but seriously speaking,
So you
I
think
think, I don't think there'll be any.
No aggro at all.
so the match referee won't be busy?
Won't be busy.
Oh,
There's no work.
remember in the last series, Shannon Gabriel asked someone, "Do you like boys?" and he got fined for it. And Root responded at the non-strikers end, I think, by saying, "There's nothing wrong with liking boys," or something along those lines.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, and he got reprimanded for it or something, but yeah, it was kind of blown out of proportion. And there was a recent article where Gabriel said, "Look, it was blown out a bit." So I think West Indians will probably try and stoke them a little bit.
Yep.
No pun intended.
Good effort. Good effort.
But yeah, I think their batsmen are very quiet. They're quite not educated, but academic looking batters. The West Indian batters now, I think they're quite
Right.
pretty quiet and play within their shell. They're not quite.
Who's going to
not
partner
so
Denley?
expensive. Eh?
Who's going to
Who's going
partner
to partner
Denley?
Denley?
Is Denley going to make the cut?
Is it Denley? Ooh,
I don't know.
now
I
who
don't
would
think
be
Denley will
the
make the
openers
cut.
then?
Denley is not opening.
Is it Denley?
I thought it was
No, who's the
Zach-
other guy I'm thinking of then?
Crawley is Crawley. What number did he
I'm
bat?
crapping out down here, but I'm. What's
Rory
his
Burns
name?
is one. Burns is one.
Rory Burns. Sorry, Rory Burns. That's the guy.
Burns is one. Sibley is the second. Sibley will open, I think, or Zach Crawley is batting at 3.
Sibley.
Yeah.
I suppose that's the
So-
frustrating part, trying to, with all these extended squads, is trying to see who's going to be selected for the
Yeah.
11.
Rory Burns,
Who
100%.
takes Root's place?
Alrighty, well, it's sort of like I suppose
Oh.
we'll sort of like we've picked some winners now. We've got Rohit's going with I think you said England. Taryn's going with West Indies. Simon in the chat room. So oh, you're going with the draw. Sorry, you're going with the draw. So it's actually Simon sitting in the old YouTube
He's going
chat
for
room.
the draw.
He's gone for the draw. He's sitting on the fence there, although he thinks England will take out the series, but we'll leave that for another day. Look,
Yeah.
we'll sort of like I think
So who are you
we'll
picking?
me. I don't pick. I'm just the guy that asks you the questions.
You're the sitting on the fence guy, eh?
Yeah. Oh, it hurts. Ow. Ow.
Are you on the points? What's the point? Something point start.
Point start.
Yeah, you're on the point start.
I actually think I think it'll actually be
You mean
England.
run start?
Yeah.
Run start, yeah. I'll give runs. I think it'll be England. Tell you the truth, I think they'll be used to the conditions. It's going to be. I think we're seeing it with a couple other sporting codes and teams being put into adverse conditions, and you have to travel somewhere, and then you put into adverse conditions. It's a strange environment, and although as Taryn alluded to, they are first world problems. I think it is still something when you're talking about the pinnacle or the top level of any sport, you need everything to be going your way, don't you? And I think that will play a part. Love to see the West Indians. I love watching the West Indies win whenever they're not playing New Zealand. So it's not a England thing or anything like that. It's just that I love watching West Indies play and win. But
Just love
I,
watching West Indies win full stop.
yeah. So I think England
Gotta love
will
the antics, though.
basically just be used to the conditions. That's basically it. But we don't know what the
Yeah, but
conditions
they
are going to
haven't
be.
played in 5 months. They've not played in 5 months.
That's right.
They've not
That's
played
right.
any cricket in 5 months. It's as much as you say it's like riding a bike. Your first time around, it takes you a little while to get used to it, which is why I want if West Indies get their stuff together, they might just be able to catch them on the hop. And that's what I'm hoping
Yeah,
for.
and that's the thing. I think the biggest concern out of it, trying to pick when, Taryn, you mentioned the injury with Jason Holder, and we don't know what his situation is and whether he'll end up playing or not. And to me, Jason Holder is quite a big key part in West Indies being successful.
He keeps them together, doesn't he?
Yep, absolutely. He
Batting
keeps
and
them
bowling.
together, but he's also he's a grit player, and he digs in when he tries to anyway. He tries to dig in, particularly with the bat. If they have a collapso, then he's the man that's there trying to hold it together.
Yeah, he's their BJ.
Yeah.
He is their glue.
Hey, look,
He is their glue. Yeah.
we always run over time, and so we'll run over time today too, because there's a couple other just quick points that I think we'll just run through quickly outside of the West Indies England game. I don't know. I was tempted to leave this for another show because we could leave it a little bit longer. But what are our thoughts on the Northern District Black Caps? They've got something like about 15 million Black Caps to pick from. That even when one or two are away, they'll still be able to put out a. So you'll have the associations going around playing the Northern District Black Caps. How do we feel about that? What are our thoughts on that?
You won't see them all on the pack.
You don't reckon?
Maybe one, maybe 2 games.
Yep. Oh,
But you
not
won't see them all on the
consistently.
pack.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but you sort of think, but it's funny. Although I've said that in jest about the Northern District's Black Caps, I think it'd be awesome if there was 1 or 2 games in the season that Northern Districts had access to all the Black Caps, and they did put out a Black Cap squad team.
How many of them are homegrown though?
Oh,
In
not
that
many,
squad
if any.
You know,
I'd
like
have that.
Jeets from here, the Gronahome's from Auckland, Jeets from Auckland, Wags is from Otago.
Yep. There's somebody from. Oh, geez, my mind's gone blank. Who's come up from Wellington? I think there was someone from Wellington that had come up.
Has somebody moved up from Wellington?
I
didn't
could be
realise
wrong
they
on
even
that.
had Black Caps.
I could be wrong on that.
No, I think
Yeah.
it's Jeets. Yeah. East Sodie's from Auckland, although he is true blue Northern Districts because that's where he made his mark.
Yep. Mind you, he was. Yeah, we can say that, but he was. Everybody knew he was going to make a mark.
Yeah, but he's always Northern though. He debuted
Yep.
for Northern. He stayed.
Yeah,
with
he did.
Northern.
He did. Yep.
He is a Northerner. Yeah, in that respect. Yeah.
Rohit,
Now,
you're comfortable with seeing Northern Districts clean up with a bunch of with a whole Black Caps? Oh, we've lost
they had
our.
the same roster last year. They had a similar roster last year.
They did actually.
It
There's
doesn't
only,
really.
and effectively what we've had the addition this year of basically Jeet's gone in there and Colin de Gronhogue.
Yeah. Colin's been there for 3 years now.
Yeah. Oh, has he?
Yeah. Colin's has partners from down that line, down that way, and yeah, he's been there for a few years. But sometimes it can get quite tricky having that amount of Black Caps because when they're available, you've got to play them. For them, it's not necessarily the be all and end all because they're just getting ready for the big stuff.
Do you think it affects the non-Black Cap members, or Black Caps members of the squad, thinking, "Oh, look, I've been, giving my guts for this team, and then the Black Caps turn up and I have to sit it out, sort of thing. And then as soon as they're gone, I'm back in. Do you think there's any sort of resentment that can be caused by having that sort of scenario?
Nah, not at all, not at all. I think it's more if you flip it the other way and you see the opportunity to rub shoulders with so many Black Caps.
Yep.
It doesn't
Pick up
happen
knowledge.
for the other 5 other MAs. They don't have that luxury for a young cricketer. They probably have 1, maybe 2 or 4 max, like Auckland. But to have that amount of Black Caps, if they're all there and thereabouts, and you have an open mind, you can really fast track your own game. And
Yep.
it's only ever really for 1 or 2 fixtures. It gets a bit difficult when they're around for a whole campaign and you sit out. But again, it's 1 season. Things work out pretty quickly.
All right. And moving on, announcement today: Peter Fulton appointed as coach for Canterbury. So he's basically relinquished his role with the Black Caps as the batting mentor. I heard it on the radio this morning. I nearly laughed at that one, but as the batting coach, and now he's taken up a full-time coach with Canterbury. Hasn't been the main coach in his coaching career so far. So this is his first time as being the head coach. How are we feeling about Peter Fulton? How's he going to go with Canterbury?
I'll put it out there. You heard it here first, surely, a few weeks ago. If you were listening here, you would have heard it here that we called it, that he was going to get that gig.
So basically what we're saying is you heard it here first on Swinging from the Hip. So make sure you stay here because you hear the things first.
Yeah, absolutely. We're good at picking trends.
From our oracle.
So how do we think he's going to go, though? So, yep, we picked it. What is our thoughts?
I thought he had coached New Zealand 19 2 years ago.
That's just at a senior level I was sort of like referring to. Sorry, but yeah, I think you're right. Under 19s, he did coach the under 19s.
It's quite a big rise or fast rise to the top. There's a lot of guys around the track that have put in the yards and that's still kind of waiting to crack their first gig. So he's obviously a stalwart of Canterbury, and who can forget his twin hundreds he scored against England?
Yep.
When he had his second coming as a Test player.
Yep.
So quite not surprised with the selection or the appointment, but yeah, I don't think the results will really matter. I think the powerhouse will probably be Auckland again. Auckland and CD.
You think so?
CD Wellington's a team.
Wellington, yeah. They've actually accumulated some pretty good talent, although young talent, isn't it? If we look at it.
They had great success last year with that.
Pardon? What's that? Sorry.
They had great success last year.
Yep. And obviously they've grabbed the Finn Allen down there too now to join the likes of young Jacob Buller, and as well as come up through the under 19s.
It's what's the boy Rachin Ravindra.
Yeah, that's the one. That's the other one I was trying to think of as well. Yeah,
he's a player to watch. You got Hamish Bennett skippering them quite nicely. You got Devon Conway pumping runs for fun. So I mean, they're the team to beat.
Yeah,
they're in Auckland, and when the Stags come right, and they're a bit of a powerhouse as well.
Mind you, something you alluded to when we're talking about the Northern District's Black Caps is the fact is that the landscape changes quite a bit once the players do end up playing for the Black Caps. So we talk about Wellington, and we're quite looking forward to seeing Devon Conway pulling on the black jersey, for want of a term.
Yeah, or hopefully not too soon.
Well, I think he was on the tour, but before COVID came along, he'd basically been earmarked to go to Sri Lanka.
Oh, was he?
Mm-hmm. He'd been given dispensation, so he was to be selected for the squad. He was about 3 weeks short, but ICC gave him dispensation because the first 3 weeks were just going to be like warm-up games, and not first. Well, they were first-class matches, but not internationals. So, and then when he would have led into the first international, he would have actually officially qualified to be to play for the Black Caps.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good on him.
So there'll be. And I suppose we'll wrap the show up with this last one, which is a bit of an amusing story. I don't know if Taryn, you might not have seen it. I think our friend of the show, Sharubin, sent us a link of Jay Warner talking about Murali and how he managed Murali when in his playing days, and how he when Murali first started bowling to right-handers, he'd only bowl over the wicket, and he kept spinning it away from the stumps, and he couldn't get LBWs because the umpires just didn't feel like it was going to be hitting the stumps. And Joe Warner's trying to get Murali to go round the wickets, round the wickets. It was 8 years later from when he first started bowling. The first time that he went around the wicket to a right-hander was 8 years after his international career started. And then all of a sudden, magically, he started getting LBWs. And then he'd wished that he'd done it sooner. Did you guys see that story?
I saw bits and parts of it. I heard some of it, but I haven't. Yeah, I didn't catch that part. But so what did Maharaja say? What was the big picture, big stuff?
Basically, this is how. I mean, like, I watched it a few days ago, so I probably got some of the details slightly wrong because I'm old and I forget things. But he sort of like he was just bowling over the wicket to the right
Yeah,
handers. And he kept going, keep going. Joe Warner would say to him, he said, "No, no, no, not doing it, not doing it, not doing it." And then, of course, he always loved to bowl. Always loved to bowl. When he wasn't bowling, all he wanted to do was bowling. He was always hinting that, it gives a bowl, gives a bowl. And so Joe Warner sort of, I wasn't sure when he did this. That's the part that I can't remember. But he basically says, "You want to bowl? You bowl round the wicket. And I'll give you the ball." And he finally gave in because he wanted to bowl. So he went around the wicket, and basically, I'm tempted to say instantaneously, obviously not instantaneously, but pretty much quick straight away. He started picking up wickets, and from then he said, "Oh, you didn't have to convince him."
mm,
But it's interesting how sort of like almost like that. And with when I worked at the University of Auckland and you're talking to professors and they become like that, it's almost like talking to a child where you're trying to convince them of no, you need to try this, you need to do this, and you're trying to yeah, as I say, convince them that there's a better way to do things, but they don't want to know about it because they're just so transfixed that they know everything and they're doing the best.
yeah, quite interesting. Eh?
Yeah, did you ever have so in your bowling career have a captain come and ask you to do something that you didn't want to do?
Uh, oh, yeah. No, I mean, when I first started, I'd have all these ideas and stuff, and a really good captain at the time. I went up to him excitedly. I said, "Oh, this is what I want to do." He goes, "Look, how do you think you're going to get him out?" And I said, "Oh, quarter slip. Where are you going to land it? Here." And what's he going to do? He's going to come forward and defend it because it's a good ball. And then it's going to spin past and get a catch to slip. He goes, right, you focus on doing that. I'll set the field. You try and bowl every ball there
Yep,
to make that happen, and I'll set the
yep,
field. Don't worry about the rest.
yep.
So he simplified it for me. Yeah, to me. So yeah, so he kind of took away like external thoughts. He said, just you worry about your core
Focus
business.
on your core objective.
Yeah, and I'll worry about the peripheral shit. Oh, yeah.
Peripheral stuff. No, but so you never had a? Did you ever have a run-in with a captain?
Yeah, no, not a run-in, but disagreements where you strongly believe in certain things. And end of the day, it is a one-on-one game where you as a bowler, it's you versus the batter, and
Yep,
invariably it's always a batter who's a captain. So a part of you
yep,
thinks, hang on, how would you know anything about bowling or the mental battles that I'm going through right now?
yep,
And you're sitting here telling me to bowl around the wicket in this case.
yep.
You would know this
Absolutely.
because, and the counter argument would be, well, I'm a batter and I know how challenging it would be, hey, if you were to
If
bowl around the wicket. But
yeah,
as bowlers, we don't see it.
yep,
Whereas bowlers, lower order batters, we can, if he bowls down there, I'm just going to open my head and I'm going to swing him to the heavens.
yep.
And yeah. So I see both sides of the coin, but yeah, it's you have a disagreement, and you should do. It's your work, and you have to question it and try and be very happy with what is being floated to you. Because if it goes wrong, nobody's going to put their hand up and say, "Oh, by the way, it was my call." They'll be like, "Oh yeah, he's supposed to go around the stumps, mate."
That was a crap ball, you bowled.
Yeah, I mean, I asked you to go around the stumps, but not bowl half volleys.
Half tracker.
Yeah.
No, look, I mean, yeah, I suppose that's a good point to good place to call quits on it for tonight. It was sort of like thank you, Rohit, and thank you, Taryn, for being on the show again. And obviously, we look forward to it because the next time we come on the show, we will have some live cricket to talk about. With the first day hopefully being done and dusted there on the with the England West Indies again. That's starting on the 8th of July, so that's a Wednesday. So we should be waking up on a Thursday morning seeing a little bit of action or some result from overnight, and we'll bring that to you here on Swinging from the Hip, right here on New Zealand Sport Radio. Remember, we've got our other shows here on New Zealand Sport Radio with Monday night, our Super Rugby reviews. We've got our preview for the Super Rugby on Friday nights. And Sunday night is a review. We're driving more on the Monday night, talking all things rugby. If we get some contestants, we have Do You Know Your Sport on Tuesday. If you want to be a contestant, drop us a line and we will get you on. We're doing teams of singles and doubles, so you can get on there. Wednesday night, we have the Standoff, which is our league show, bringing you everything that's happening in the NRL as well. And then obviously the for your cricketing fix of the week, Swinging from the Hip, right here at every Thursday at 8 p.m. During the week, make sure you tune in at 7 a.m. in the morning for the New Zealand for the morning sports briefing, and that will get you started off in the best way with your sports news for the day. So thank you all for watching tonight or listening, or if you're listening on your podcast there, thank you again. Make sure that you like and share. We'd love you to share it so that your friends can see what we're doing here and they can also hear the great content that we're producing here right on New Zealand Sport Radio. So until next week at Thursday, 8 p.m., this has been Swinging from the Hip, and we'll see you next week. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.